Welcome back. It's episode 22 of my weekly training log, and this week was a return to a full training schedule. After the race, I took a fairly easy week for recovery, but now we're back into a full workload. Earlier in the week, I was still feeling a little bit of fatigue from the race, but that eventually subsided after a couple more rest days and getting some workouts in. On Monday, I had some faster repeats on the schedule. So I had 4 times 3 minutes at threshold pace, and there was 2 minutes rest in between each of those repetitions. Plus, I had a 15-minute warm-up before heading into those reps and about a 10-minute cool down afterwards. Also, I threw in there 6 by 15 second strides, so just a little bit faster there at the end to really tire me out. Now, as I understand it, threshold pace is something you can hold for a 10k or around an hour, so it's a fast effort but not all out, and certainly not easy. So I was really working hard on those faster reps. I decided to go for the trails during this run, as I'm starting to look ahead at some of the challenges I want to do next year, and these will involve a lot of trail running and climbing. The workout went really well, and I felt strong running each of the harder sections. As I was on the trails, these reps were sometimes on the uphills or downhills, so I just adjusted my relative effort, and I didn't stick to a particular pace, like in minutes per kilometre. I generally do all my runs in terms of a perceived effort and not a defined pace. This works well for me and for some other people, but others prefer to run to a certain pace number. I finished off the run with the 6 faster reps of 15 seconds to really tire me out, and then jog back home for a cool down. So all in all, the run was 48 minutes and 6.74 kilometers with about 160 meters of elevation gain. Now, if I compare this workout to a similar workout from say 2 or 3 months ago, there's really a huge change in how my feet are going, which is really great news and I'm very happy about. If it was 2 or 3 months ago and I did a hard effort on Monday, I would certainly feel soreness on the Tuesday, which would kind of affect how I would approach my run on Wednesday. I'd be very tentative about it. I would then have to take Thursday and Friday off to kind of overcome the soreness from the Monday and the Wednesday to try and get a run in on the Saturday. Saturday, which was meant to be a long run, would end up only being 40 or 45 minutes, similar to the other runs, just because my feet really couldn't handle the load. If you compare that to this week's run on Monday, it was quite substantial in terms of length and effort, but no real discomfort after the run or bleeding into Tuesday. I could then go on and run the rest of my week without having any issues. So, I call that a really big win for the condition of my feet, and I'm really, really happy with how they're going. I put that progress in recovering of my feet down to a couple of factors. The prehab exercises I've been doing to strengthen my feet and my ankles and calves has been huge. I've been doing strength workouts each week to generally improve the conditioning of my legs and the rest of my body. I've been making sure to get in heaps of sleep as well. That's become a huge priority of mine, as well as generally trying to eat as good as possible and almost totally abstaining from alcohol. So I generally don't drink at all. I might have one on like a Saturday night, and I had a couple after the trail race as well as a celebration. So it's a combination of all those factors, I think, which has really seen things progress as well as the general conditioning from just, putting in the miles on the feet. They're adapting to it. I have an episode of the training log, episode 10, which kind of goes through a lot of those prehab exercises, as well as some of the strength work I do. So if you're interested in that, please go and check that out. So on to Tuesdays, and I have Tuesdays off running generally, and I do a strength workout followed by a session on the indoor bike trainer. And generally that session is kind of 50 to 55 minutes at a low intensity. Wednesday we have a group run, and that's a bunch of friends and other people from the local running community. We meet at the local run shop and head out into the trails for a bit of a fun, easy run, and then we meet for coffee and snacks afterwards. This run is really low intensity, and I'd say it's probably a 3 on the scale of perceived effort, 3 out of 10. I walk the uphills. I do a lot of walking and taking photos, on my phone or camera. It's just it's kind of a really easy day out, and just getting the legs moving. All in all, the run was 4.46 kilometers, 45 minutes, and about 130 meters of elevation gain. And then I had probably 2 coffees afterwards, which is a bit much for me generally, but I'll make an exception for the group run day. A couple of weeks prior to the trail race, I started incorporating a hike on Thursdays just to get some more elevation in, as I knew the race was going to have a lot of elevation. Initially, this was made optional by my coach, so I could choose to do it if I felt up to it, and leave it out if I didn't feel up to it. But I did start to incorporate that as kind of a low effort hike, and it's become a permanent part of the schedule now. This hike has a decent amount of elevation, and it's purely to get those vertical meters in, and also to practice my downhill running, which is a bit of a skill you have to develop, and you've really got to condition your legs for that downhill. I went out with a couple of friends, and we completed a total of 6.33 kilometers in 1 hour and 13 minutes, with a total of 487 meters of elevation gain. Now this is the opening hike of the trail race I did recently, but it's so much easier to do it in a cool morning as opposed to the stinking hot day we had recently on race day. I find this low intensity hiking doesn't really exacerbate my plantar fasciitis problem at all. So I really enjoy getting out there and getting moving without having to worry about any issues with my feet. Fridays I have another strength workout followed by another bike workout, and this bike workout generally includes some moderate or harder paced repetitions as well. I really enjoy my time on the bike as I kind of throw up a screen up here and put on some movies or a documentary or something, and the time just kind of ticks away, and before you know it, you've got in a good amount of cardio. This brings us to Saturday, which is long run day. Initially, it wasn't a long run. It was about the same amount of time as every other run, just because my feet really couldn't handle it. But over time, I've slowly increased that run, and now it is certainly bigger than the others and an important part of the training schedule. I recently found a really cool local mountain where you can run a bit of a loop around the peak with some really cool terrain and a bit of climbing involved. So I put the message out to some friends that I'd be heading there on Saturday morning. I was aiming to do around 2 hours, most of this being low intensity hiking or jogging, and a couple of mates did end up joining me for this one. I chose 2 hours because I can kind of gauge where my fitness level is at, and I thought 2 hours would be achievable, but also not overwhelming for me at this time, especially with hiking and low intensity. It wasn't a 2 hour run on the road, which I think would probably be too much for me at the moment. It turned out to be really misty and a breezy morning. However, it wasn't too cold or unpleasant. We had a really great run around this mountain called E22, and I felt like I had really good energy the whole way. I practiced taking in some carbs throughout to train my stomach. So that was goo Roctane in my water bottle, which I sipped on throughout, and some goo chews. So I had about 4 chews before the run, and then another 2, I think 2 or 3, about 45 minutes in. The total workout details were 1 hour and 37 minutes, 7.49 kilometers, and 628 meters of elevation gain. So that's my training for the week, and I'm really pleased with how everything's going. After that easy recovery week after the race, I'm feeling kind of, back at full strength now, and excited about what's to come in the next couple of weeks. After I returned home, actually, I had a call with my coach to catch up and discuss how the training's been going, and also to look ahead at future goals for 2023. My coach's name is Ian Bowie, and she and her practice called Run Resiliently in San Francisco. So we catch up via phone and WhatsApp and generally discuss training through there. She also programs my runs through an app called Training Peaks, and my strength workouts through another app, I think it's called Training Hero. So we do post-workout comments, and she checks all my efforts, so we keep up that way in terms of how the training's going. So we discussed my main goal for 2023. I'll announce that at some point, but at the moment I'm just keeping it fairly quiet, but I'll let you guys know soon. We also talked about my initial goal when entering coaching for this year was to run 5 to 6 days a week pain-free, and we're really on track for hitting that mark. We're going to start incorporating a 5th run now in maybe in the next couple of weeks, first as an optional, and then hopefully eventually something that becomes part of the permanent schedule. So yeah, I'm very happy with how things are progressing, and I think definitely by the end of 2022, I'll be running 5 days a week easily, and maybe incorporating that 6th day in if I can. So that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed the new format. I might try this out for a couple of weeks and see how it's going, but thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch everyone next week.